All right. Yeah, the guy in the gray shirt, hang on.
Oh, sorry. Raffles are exciting, thank you.
No. Do you have a raffle ticket?
Yep. Yeah, I was just going to pass.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like the store.
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Do you really need one? Okay. Bunch of liars. I mean. I'm gonna take my glasses off because then I can't see none of you people. That's the glare. It's the glare. Plus the head glare. It's double glare. Am I live? Testing 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. USB mutable. No, not me. Okay. We have 3 people that just came in. Don't act like you're just going to sneak in here. Okay. Are you done? Oh, okay. Here you are. The 2 people that just came in, pass them back. Y'all need a coupon. Oh, yeah, if you pass it back, you can. So this will be the last coupons, and at the end, when no one has a coupon or you're all lying again, then you can try it. We ready? Where's my intro girl?
She's right
There she is. Okay. We don't need that guy. Okay. Who can name every module up there like that? Anybody? You need a life. It's not like that really. What? Does it have the same number on it?
Oh, I don't know. You put all the tickets in there, so I'm just getting the ticket.
It's okay. Is this really going out now? Oh, hang on. It's a Macintosh. Well, we started with Snow Target, and we had to go to Lion. Then Lion wouldn't work, we had to go to Panther. But then Panther said we had a long driver, so we had to go to Sierra. But now we have to go to, like, Gnarly Narwhal. Wait, that's Linux. Oh, forget it.
Yeah, just get started. It's fine.
Oh my god. It's totally my phone.
Okay, well, we'll tell some jokes. Okay, so who has been here for the very first time to see one of my So I said, with my 2 college degrees and years of engineering experience, I think I know where to go. So I go to the rental car place at the Burbank airport, and there's Hertz. I said, I'm here to pick up my car. She goes, we don't have your car here. She goes, oh, it's at the other Burbank counter.
What?
And I went, where's that? Oh, it's about 3 miles away. And I said, but she goes, I know. That's where it used to be, but then we did the airport, and we've tried to get them to change it, but they won't change it, so your car's over there. So how am I going to get over there? I don't have a car. She goes, sir, are you trying to be smart with me? I go, no. She goes, well, you just need to get over there because they close at 6. It's 11 to 6. She goes, well, we have a driver. He can take you over there. I'll page him for you. And I said, okay. Okay, he's downstairs. Go here. So I go there. There's like this 97-year-old Chinese guy down there with an Altima. And he goes, I'm here to take you to your appointment. I said, can we get there in time? He goes, sure. I'm like, 4-point harness, here we go. So he got me there with like 1 minute to spare. And I go into there. I goes, I'm here for my thing. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, we don't have exactly what you got on Priceline. And the Priceline guaranteed price is for what it says on the ticket. And since we don't have what's on the ticket, I can't give you the Priceline price. So, okay, what do you have? You have this brand new Ford F-250 4-wheel drive monster truck. And I said, do you have the pole vault to go into the cab? Because I think I'm going to have to. And he goes, you trying to be smart with me? I said, no, that's the other girl. He goes, well, your Priceline price for this car, if we would have had it, and you had gone to the right counter, but you didn't, was $74 for 2 days. That truck is $250. Okay. So I got the truck. I had to drive to Perfect Circuit, which was minutes away. And I got the Perfect Circuit 30 seconds before we went live. So I've been here since 2 o'clock. And we're working. Can you
Anyway, I don't need this.
Is that a Behringer?
It's a Mackie. Do you like Mackies?
It was $42. It was $42. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming here to Control this evening to welcome Paul Schreiber, all the way from Texas, Dallas, that is. He made it.
Thank you. I can just leave now. Go ahead.
He has been doing what he does for a very long time. He knows the ins and outs of synthesis through and through. And tonight he's here to show us the E352 and give us a little sneak preview of something else perhaps later, but I'll let him handle that. Does anyone have need a raffle ticket? Who doesn't have one? Raise your hand. No? No?
Good.
Okay. Well, without further ado, Paul Schreiber.
Thanks. You've already done that one. But do it again. Do it again. Okay, now we have to do some video stuff, so we're going to switch to PowerPoint. Ta-da! You know, this is kind of cool. You can kind of like open that door. If you know what that is, you're old as me. Yeah, there you go. All right, so I'll go next.
Yeah, and you let me know when you want a close-up of the system.
Okay. Next. All right, so this is the attempted agenda, but I tend to wander off track sometimes. So we're going to talk about the 352 Cloud Terrarium overview and demo, which we have a real musician to do the demo.
I don't know if I'm a real musician.
Compared to me,
I'll be doing the demo.
Compared to me, yeah, you are. Trust me. And I actually have the very first only working 370 quad VCO prototype. Oh, she's doing that. I thought I was like this Minority Report thing, you know? It's gonna like do this and be Tom Cruise. And I say a hopeful demo, and we had new software loaded, but apparently it works okay, and it hasn't crashed yet. And then we have a raffle for valuable prizes. Now, but instead of having a trivia contest, which I used to have, I decided instead just to have beer. Is that okay? Is that okay? Well, all right. So that other dealer that you shouldn't buy from, you should buy from this one, decided that we're going to have a big contest, and I had a trivia contest with 11 questions, and the winning person got 3 right. So either they're too hard or the other thing. So we'll just go with beer, okay? All right, so for those of you who were just here for the beer, and interested about me a little bit, so this is technology. My company started in 1985, not doing music at all. I was a contractor to TI on the 2nd generation speak and spell parts. And so synthesis technology is actually a shortening of my official name, which was speech synthesis technology. Okay. So that's where I started, but I went into modulars with the MOTM, besides Nicholas, who knows about MOTM? My 5U stuff, anybody? MOTM? A couple of people? Okay. Which is now owned by SynthCube, by the way. But then I got out of that, and I had some children and stuff like that. My wife went back to school and got a nursing degree. Then I decided to get into this Eurorack thing. But I didn't want to be another envelope generator, VGA kind of a person, mixer person. I wanted something different, so that I did the Morphine Terrarium E350, which is, I guess, what most people know me for, besides all the bad stuff you read about on the forums. I'm talking about the part. So what I did at TI was I designed the hardware and software tools for toy companies, because most of the speak and spell parts did not actually go into the speak and spell from TI. They went into toys. And so I did all the hardware and software that people would buy if you were a toy company or a book company, we'll talk about books in a second, to actually program the part before you bought them, because they were ROM. They were one-time programmable. You had to buy 1 million pieces, and they were non-returnable. So you had to make sure you had your code really right. Otherwise, you threw 1 million parts away. And then that's actually my second cool name. My first cool name was Micro Music Associates. And I knew I was a cool person because I went and I bought a rubber stamp. I could stamp on envelopes that said that. So I knew I was in business. Nope. So if you've ever seen these things, and I apologize for this one in advance, I'm sorry, but it's a big seller. So I did some work on that. A guy named David Hamilton did most of the work on that. But so this is a typical thing. Most of what I did was actually these little talking books. So there's a speak and spell chip in there, and you push the button, and it makes the sound of a pig or a sheep or something. There was over 100 million of those books sold. So that's pretty good. So this has always been a hobby for me. I've always had a real job, like, you know, with a badge and a cube and a boss you hated, that kind of a thing. But my last real job was at Microchip. You may have heard of Microchip, the microcontroller company in Arizona, and I actually had to move my whole family from Texas to Arizona, and they weren't very happy. And then last 2016, around March, I think, it hit 122 degrees, which is a record high for March in Arizona. My wife booked tickets and said, if you want to come with me, you can. I'm going back to Texas, and she did. And I said, I'll think about it. Oh, she's serious. So we moved back to Texas. And so I've been back there ever since. And then because I'm an old white guy, I'm instantly unemployable now. So I'm doing this full time. So this is what I do now full time. Now don't get excited, because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, he's doing this full time. He has more time. He'll ship even quicker than he was before, because before he didn't hardly ship at all. You would be wrong. Because instead of shipping, it's more fun to do design, so I've been goofing off designing, and now, as my dealers like Jonas is saying, when are you going to start shipping? So actually, there's someone here in this room who picked up the very first dealer E352 today. So they are in the field, they do exist, but it's going to take a while. So of course, that means my company slogan is, what? Let's all read it. I'm slow, but I do good work. Okay. That about sums it up. Whoa, she's blowing through there. Oh, and actually I skipped one, that's why she went back, because she's paying attention, is that it's actually 3 of us who do the work. Myself, my DSP programmer, Eric Brombaugh, who also does work for ModCan and Audio Damage, and ambient musician Robert Rich, who's my main beta tester. If he says it doesn't ship, it does not ship. Because he has $50,000 speakers, okay? And mine are like these Behringer monitors. They go, that's about it. Okay, next. So this is actually an accurate render of the 352, because we were trying to figure out what to call these knobs, are now called parameters. Although the screen is not exactly that. But this is what it looks like. And like I said, they're shipping now. And we're going to go over the features of it and have a little demo here. So what is it? So, like I said, people know me for the 350 Morphine Vco, or maybe the E340 cloud generator. How many people have at least one of those? Anybody? Boy, I need to fire the marketing guy. So this combines the 2 of them. So every single feature in the 350, including the secret Easter egg switches on the back, and every feature in the 340, are in the 352, plus additional things that are not in either one of those. So the E340 and E350 are no longer shipping. So they've been replaced by the E352. So what did we add different? I guess I'll do this again because I'm a glutton for punishment. How many people here have an E330 multifunction VCO? About the same number of people that had the other one. Okay. So that added 2-operator FM mode, like the Yamaha 2-op FM. But in the E330, it's the sine wave operators, which is what the Yamaha original chips are, like in the Sound Blaster and the DX100 and DX27. Those are sine waves. So you have 2 sine waves that multiply. And stuff like the TX81Z and the FS1R, you had more complicated wavetables doing that kind of stuff. So we added 2-op FM with the additional features of we can have the wavetables too, not just sine waves. And I'm going to ask about the E102 because I haven't sold that many, but in the E102 quad shifter, there's a noise generator that we use from like the Atari game consoles. Chiptunes kind of a noise generator, digital analog noise. And so we put that in there, but we added a Moog low-pass filter, all done in software. I can't say Moog. Transistor, don't sue me. It's a transistor ladder filter. And then we had another feature while we were going crazy, is so we were going to actually, on the displays that we use, when I buy these from China, they come with an SD card, a full-size SD card, on the bottom of them. So if you buy one of these, don't be poking stuff in there, okay? Because it's not used. We were going to use it for doing software upgrades, but we said, let's just go ahead and put it on the front panel. And that way, not only can you do the software upgrades, you can also load in your own wavetables. The trouble with loading your own wavetables is how do you have an editor that makes them the right size, the right number of bits, and the right format. So we said, we'll just write our own. So we'll talk about that. So we have a free wave editor coming out. It's all his fault, by the way. And that's not true, but I just love the slides, so it's going to go in every presentation.
Three-dimensional. The monitors.
What?
SM58.
Oh. Feelings. Oh. So I was told that the people in the back couldn't hear me, like that's a bad thing. Where was I? Blaming this guy. Who knows who this is?
Logan.
Right. So actually, he's at fault for the Speak and Spell VCO. But I stole the slide because I liked it. Next. They're so enraptured over there. Okay. So the next question is, why should I get it? 352, not Logan. So when I came out with the E340 and the E350, and they came out in around February of 2010, so it's a long time ago in Eurorack, 7 years ago, the main complaint on all the forums, which was Muff Wiggler, it's still there, is why are the modules so big? Cases are expensive, and everybody's got these wide modules. Why can't somebody make smaller modules? This is before people went, we can turn it sideways and call it 0 HP. But back then, a lot of the modules were, say, 24 to 32 HP wide. So I said, well, I'm going to make a VCO, and I can make it narrow, but I have to give something up, which is the attenuators. And I said, well, it's a modular. It's got more than one module. There's probably mixers and VCAs in there. You could probably tell people to patch the control voltages first into that and then into mine, and they wouldn't care at all, would they? Because it's small and narrow. No. How could you call yourself a modular designer if there's no attenuators on all the inputs? So-and-so's got attenuators and inputs. And I said, but it's 42 HP wide. Yeah, but still. Well, so-and-so does it. Well, there's no knobs on them. There's this little thing sticking on the thing, and you're going, what's going on here? And they go, but it's there. So I decided from now on, I'm going to give you 17 attenuators in series. You have to turn each one to make sure it's all. So it has full attenuators. And so if you want to upgrade from a 350, and so you're used to have a 350 sounds, or use it as an LFO, we went from 8-bit wavetables to full 16-bit wavetables. So it has 4 times less noise for the same audio output on the wavetables. How many people here thought they were 16 bits all along? No, they were 8 bits. We have the micro USB card to do the updates, so I'm kind of proud of the fact that all my modules are digital, by the way, except for the E440 filter. Even my LFO has an ARM processor in it because it's a 90-cent processor, and why not? And I've never had an upgrade, ever. So no field upgrades ever. But these modules are not in that class. They're 10 times more complicated. So even though we've done a lot of beta testing, the E352 has been 6 months in beta testing. Over 12 different people have looked at it before I shipped it. The guy who just got one, he's going to plug it in tonight and go, ha-ha, there it is right there. So I know it's going to happen. So we made a very quick and easy way. You can flash the entire operating system from the front panel with a micro SD card in less than 20 seconds. And you're done. So that's the same mechanism that you use to load in your own wavetables. It's the same mechanism you use to flash the part. There's a secret bootloader. Do you know about the secret bootloader?
I didn't know.
He doesn't even know there's a secret. There's a secret bootloader in there. Hold the encoder knob down when you turn it on, but not after till the demo's over.
Okay.
He's like, yeah. Thunk, thunk. And also,
Show the boot mode.
yeah, also because the processor it's used is 8 years newer. In 8 years, you know, remember upgrading from a 286 to a 386 and all that stuff. 8 years is a long time in processor world. The processor that we use in both of these parts is the same family. They're different part numbers and they run at different speeds, but they're the same general family. The E352, even though it combines all the functions of the two modules, is less power than one of the modules. Okay, so it's actually less power. So if you have a E350 in your rack and you take it out and sell it because you want one of these, your power consumption in your rack will go down when you buy an E352. Not up, it goes down. Next. Okay. So what do we do to improve the thing? Because I didn't want to just make a module that combines the two things without adding any features, right? What's the point of that? So I said, well, we're going to go to a much faster processor. So right now we're running a 32-bit processor at 156 megahertz, which is pretty good. It's a lot of processing power. In the 340 and the 350, we used an internal audio DAC that's part of the microchip DSP to do the audio stream. Here we have a separate crystal semiconductor DAC with 102 dB SNR. And we use special TI OPA series op amps for low noise and low THD. So we're actually about 8 times lower noise and 3 times better THD than the E340 and E350. So much, much quieter. We did the SD card for the field upgrades, and besides that, on the PC board, there's 32 meg of flash memory. That's for user presets. So this thing has full presets in there as well. No, you can't do it from a control voltage. There's always that one guy. Like I said, we reduced the power from 90 milliamps to 65 milliamps on +12. So I'm going to go over the modes real quick, and that's almost demo time. So if you have a E350, you know how it's set up. So this is a wavetable oscillator that has 3 banks of waves. The waves are set up at an 8x8, like a checkerboard. So there's X and Y. So there's 8 rows and 8 columns of waves. And with control voltages, you can point where in that checkerboard you want the output to be. All right? And so we call it XYZ morphing. So X and Y is one output. So the E352 has 2 outputs, but they're at the same pitch. Right? But they can point to different places in the wavetable. And so we can have X and Y as one pointer, and then Z, which is all the way through the wavetable, as the other pointer to the second output. So that's the same thing as an E350. But then we add another mode, which is we have wavefolding. So now we can actually do surge kind of wavefolder, but it's all digital wavefolding. So I did a wavefolder. So what that does is it just adds more raspy harmonics and stuff to it. And of course, that's voltage controlled. We have the 340 cloud generator mode as well, which is sine and sawtooth clouds only. So what is a cloud? So a cloud is a term that we used for multiple detuned oscillators that we can spread apart from a very small amount to a very wide amount. Then once they're spread, we use filtered white noise to wiggle them. We call that chaos and chaos bandwidth. And that's a term that Robert Rich came up with for his album Bestiary. He used 42 MOTM modules to do that patch. But besides the sine and the saw, we also can cloud any wave in the wavetable. And that's the killer app of the 352. Okay, so that's the one thing that when you hear it, you go, I need that sound. Because there's nothing in the market, hardware or VST, until they copy me, that can do that right now. So that's the cloud plus the morphine. So you can cloud and you can morph at the same time. We have 2-op FM, just like on the E330 with the sine waves, but then we added the fact that you can do wavetable, just like the TX-81Z and the FS1R. FS1R is one of my favorite synthesizers of all times, so we can sound like an FS1R, if you like that. And then we had some leftover bandwidth, and we said, let's make some noise. So we'll take all the chiptunes noise that we had before, but we're going to add a ladder 24 dB low-pass filter with resonance. So now you can have a noise, and then with 2 control voltages, you can either sweep the cutoff frequency, and that's 1 volt per octave. You can have voltage-controlled resonance of your noise as well. And so the way you select this is through the menu system, right? So you can pick any one of these to run at once. And when you pick one of these modes, it will select what the 2 outputs are set to. And usually what you want to do is you want to set different ROM wavetables. So output A is a wavetable and output B is a different wavetable. But the thing to remember about the E352, it's still a single VCO and it has 1 pitch. So you can't have 2 outputs with 2 separate pitches unless you cheat. And how do you cheat? Anybody? Huh?
What about the 2-op FM? Wouldn't that have a different ratio for the 2?
That's one way to cheat. He's right. You can change the ratio. What about using the wavetables? How can you cheat with a wavetable oscillator? You can load a wavetable in that has multiple 0 crossings and it'll have a different pitch. Row 1 of bank A of the E350 does that. It has the 8 sine harmonics, 1 through 8. So that's how you can do it. But that's kind of clunky, right? So if you want all these features, but you want independent pitch outputs, that's the E370. And because when you buy a microcontroller, usually when we buy a microcontroller, there's 3 things that you look at. The first thing is the speed. How fast does it go? In other words, you have to pick a microcontroller that runs as fast as you need or you haven't done your job. The second thing you pick is how many pins does a microcontroller have? How many I/O pins do we need to drive the screen, the pots, and all the stuff? We can't pick a 44-pin part if we need 100 I/O pins. Of course, the third thing is how much does it cost? Right? But when you do those 3 things, a lot of times you wind up having to buy a part with a lot of memory that you don't really need. Because you want the speed and you want the high pin count, and especially if you want a high pin count, the semiconductor companies associate higher pin count with more internal memory. So in this case, we wanted to have a 64-pin part, so we got about twice as much memory as we really needed. So we decided to use up the memory because if you pay for it, why not use it up, right? So we have a thing called just for fun. So we have programmable colors. So a lot of people said, why did you ship the thing with the blue screen of death on there, you know? And the answer is, because I like blue and it's mine. But it's all programmable. So you can have 16 different colors and you can change the font color, the background, the foreground, the wavetables, everything you want is all completely programmable in there. And it saves it in flash memory, so when you power up, it's right back where you left it. We also have what we call some screensavers, so I call it eye candy. So we have I wanted to have like a color organ. So I'm a child of the 70s. I wanted to have one of those little Heathkit color organs with the Christmas tree lights that blinked and stuff. No matter what music you put in, it always blinked the same, you know. But it blinked. So we have some equivalents of that in the E352. And there's also an Easter egg. There's a picture of my cat, Moses. And if you're a dog person, tough. Then we decided to say, it would be nice because we don't have real-time readouts of things like what the control voltage is. We don't have blinking lights. I'm the president of the I Hate Eurorack Blinky Light Club. Also the Ribbon Cable Club and I Hate Banana Club. There's lots of clubs I belong to. And they all tend to be negative, don't they? So So we decided to have some visualizations. So what these are just little simple little bouncy colored dots on a grid that says, for example, in the morph XY mode, there's a 64 little grids and it shows little dots of what that moves around based on what the control voltage is doing. So you can kind of see in the table, I'm somewhere in row 5, sort of a thing. So all of the things, all of the different modes have a different visualizations, sort of a thing. And then for the 2-op FM, we couldn't come up with any good visualization. So as a complete joke, I emailed my DSP programmer and said, let's do a real-time FFT spectra in 2-op mode. He says, I hate you and you're stupid. And then 4 hours later, he says, try this, and there it is. So all that calculus we got to use in graduate school about Bessel functions and partial differential equations, it's all programmed into, because one of the advantages of this particular family of parts, these parts come in families, this is the ARM7 family, it has a floating point math coprocessor. So if you're an old guy like me and you used to have a 286, you had a socket for an Intel 287 math coprocessor. You didn't know what it was, you didn't care, you just wanted it because it's a math coprocessor. And so this has a math coprocessor. So this actually has a IEEE 64-bit floating point math coprocessor, which we use to calculate the Bessel functions, to calculate the amplitudes of the sidebands of 2-operator FM. There'll be a test later. Next. You want it really bad. So how can you get it? So the pre-orders for the silver panel, which is a standard Doepfer silver panel, are right here at Control on their website. You can log into Control. If you're lucky, you can pick one up pretty soon. It's in full production. However, I've got, my family is in Houston. They're kind of flooded right now, so I've been kind of tied up with that a little bit. And then we have KnobCon coming up next weekend. Anybody going to KnobCon? You're always, follows me around everywhere I go. But yeah, so I'll be at KnobCon. It's in Chicago. And so I'll be at KnobCon. So I'm going to ship some before KnobCon, but then probably after KnobCon is when they'll actually start going to dealers en masse. Okay. And then if you want a black panel version, if you don't like silver, you want black because black is cool. Then you can order one off of my website at syntech.com/shop. It's not a special edition. It's just black. There's no guarantee you'll get it any quicker just because you order it from me directly. Okay, so don't get the ideas like, forget these guys, I'm going to go from him and get it quicker. It's not going to happen, okay? You're all going to get it in the order that it was shipped. Next. All right. I figure if I'm going to get sued for something funny. So we're now going to have a little demo of the 352. And this is just going to show some of the modes, and he'll take you through what you're going to be hearing. After it's all over and you've had a couple of beers, you want to stick around, you can come up and, I'll show you, if you want to see something specific, just let us know for either of the two modules. So any questions real quick about anything? Nothing? Your mother Trebek? Nothing? Yes, sir.
You're saying the cloud generator is something that is hard, if not impossible, to find in other instruments or VSTs?
I'm saying the morphine cloud.
Yeah, the cloud generator.
Yeah.
Yeah, that feature that's now. So
Yeah.
I have a feeling I know the answer, but just to double check, how is that different from a typical unison feature on, for example, a VST where you can have unison 60 with the detune feature?
Right, so you can detune it, but the thing is, if you do that and you modulate with the chaos at the same time, you can do it. But I was doing this about 9 years ago.
Is the chaos modulating all of the
Yes.
virtual?
Right. Yes,
So
it does.
It's one chaos, or is it a different form of noise?
It's
for
different for each one.
That's what I was- okay.
Each one is a 22-band parametric equalizer in software. Why 22? Because we can. Okay, so I'll step aside from it.
the microphones.
Get the microphone.
I was told I had to do this a few hours ago, so bear with me.
Here goes the clunk.
I turned it on.
Oh,
Yes.
CB's 24 kilohertz. I'll do the morphine. So that's the chaos. So here's the morph in the cloud right here. And that's straight out of the oscillator. No effect. It's out of the oscillator. A Hammond Organ patch from the lighter shade of pale, by the way. Wider. This is what? 88804. Sorry.
So now we're in the 2 operator FM.
heard that stepping, the index is quantized in the Yamaha system. So there's 16 different fixed indexes you can pick from.
Right, but I mean,
Yeah.
on like the 6-out ones, you have to find index.
Right. But we're not there yet.
So this is the noise, just using the coarse tuning and the filter tracks. Switch different types of
It doesn't morph with, it's a hard split. That's the ladder filter, and it goes all the way to soft resonance, which is kind of hard and softer to do, by the way, without clipping. Okay, there you go. Why don't you show them on the eye candy spark? Just go down to the bottom. No, exit out. You have to exit out.
I was just going out of noise first.
Right. So there's an example, a little spinning cube. Windows 98, everybody, yay! Show, do the spiral the very first time. Oh, the cat! Moses the cat. Other way, there you go. So this one will respond to the speed, the color, and the size of the arms by the control voltages. And no, there's no HDMI output. Don't ask. I'm not going to give it. I need a Kickstarter. All right, that's good. All right, that's fine. I'll turn it down. All right, let's hear it from Max. Demo. Something he just threw together. It'll be on Bandcamp tomorrow. Okay, now we're going to talk about the E370. Waiting for the lawsuit. Do I need to use a microphone? Do I need to use the microphone?
Sure, let's do it. Yeah.
Do I need to use? Ready?
Should be working.
Should be working. Should be working.
Oh, no, just the turn down.
Are we there yet? There we are. Is that it? Okay. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the quad Morphine Vco. Now, there's only one in the world, and that's this one right here. So it's still in development. But I think that I pulled off something which is pretty rare and scary at the same time. The very first pass the circuit board is 100% correct. Now, when you do that, though, you go to sleep at night and you go, no, it's not. You just haven't found it yet. And now that you think it's good, you're not going to be looking, are you? And going, no, I don't want to look. I don't want to look. But hopefully it's okay. Now, after you guys play with it tonight, and after KnobCon, maybe there's something wrong. But so far, I think it's pretty good. So I've actually ordered more front panels and more circuit boards. I'm going to go into a full beta test, and he's going to be one of our beta testers. He just thinks he gets to keep it after he dies. And so hopefully we'll be ready to release it for production sometime around the 1st of October. And after that, I'm going to have to build them. My wife is like, let's go to Belgium for a couple of months. But no, we're not. I'll build them for you. So how many people here bought a 370 on Kickstarter? Cool. So the question is, why did I even go to Kickstarter? Why didn't I just come to my dealers and go, I have this new module, which is I've always done. I said, here's a new module, buy some? They go, probably. But this one I didn't. And the reason was I was thinking that if I was lucky, I would sell 75, but I'd probably sell more than about maybe 50, really, because the price was going to be so high and was so big, because now everybody wants modules that are 2 HP wide. And I'm like, no, this is going to be 54 HP wide. And they go, I need a new case. And I go, you've got 19 cases, but I don't want 20. So I didn't get a very good vibe, you know, for this module. And there's a module on Kickstarter right now that ends in a couple of days that's even bigger than this one. That costs $1,500, and he sold 27. And so that's what I was thinking it would really be. Okay.
The percussive?
Yeah. What?
Never mind. I reserve comment.
Be nice. I'm just saying that that's the kind of level of sales I would expect for these kinds of modules. And so I figured I want to do one run and be done. We call it one and done. So it's very expensive to tool these things up a second time for my assembler that I use. I have to pay a charge for him to take my parts and put them on his pick and place machines and load my program in and load my stencil and set the production line up and load the BOM and stuff, and I have to pay a high price. Now it's amortized over all the ones you run, but if I wasn't going to run more than, say, 75 the first time and 30 the second time, I didn't want to do that. I was like, I'm not going to do that. And besides, the way Kickstarter works is you set a value, and if you don't meet the value, nothing bad happens. Except shame, intense personal shame, which I'm used to because I'm on Muff Wiggler. But everybody who goes to Kickstarter, in the back of their mind, says maybe, just maybe, exploding kittens. How many people knows what that reference even means, exploding kittens? What does it mean?
Reference to a card game that
made how much money? $8.7 million, designed by a 6-year-old girl. It's still the record Kickstarter program, Exploding Kittens. And maybe I was just being overly conservative, I don't know. So I said, okay, I'm going to put the amount that I want to raise at 52 units. And we'll see if I can do 52. Next slide. I did pretty good. I met my goal in 43 minutes. And I made $263,000. Thank you very much.
In less than a month?
In a month, 30 days. And by the way, this is interesting. This is a typical Kickstarter profile of what your pledges are. You get a huge amount, and then you cruise for 28 days where nothing happens. And then the last couple of days, people hit it. In fact, the last 18 minutes, I sold 30 units in 18 minutes, which is nerve-wracking because you're like, why did you wait all this time? They go, to torture you, and it's working. I go, yes, it is.
Wasn't there like some bet going on with that too, though? So maybe people are trying to swing the bet. Wasn't there something about that?
I hope not.
Yeah.
Next. So what is the basic features, okay? It's a quad oscillator. That means it has 4 independent pitch outputs. It also means that every VCO in there is completely independent. There's no coupling between them unless you wanted to. You can have different algorithms, you can have 3 LFOs and 1 VCO. No, you can't internally patch the LFOs into the inter-VCOs. That's why you have these patch cords here.
You can't, so no normalizations, no anything, just all.
Kinda. We'll talk about it in a minute. Kinda. The normalization is in the control voltage, not in the audio. And so the first thing I got, and I still get it, until the day I die I'm going to get it, I thought this was 4 E352s. And I said, where did I say that? Well, it has the same screen, and it looks alike, and you did the 352 first, and so the next one you do would be better than 352, so why not put 4 of them in a box? And the answer is, because the DSP would have to run at 1 gigahertz, that's why. And I didn't want to. And the reason is that it poaches sales off the E352. So I kept them separate on purpose. One of them is a single oscillator. 352 has 1 pitch output. It's either an LFO or it's not. But the 370 can be 4 completely independent things, but with what? 1 output each, right? It doesn't have 2 outputs that track. If you want 2 outputs that track, what do you have to do? Set 2 of the oscillators to track each other, right? But we did do some kind of normalizations. And we did it all in software. So there's no shorting jacks or anything like that on the front panel. It's all done in software. So there's an audio mixer, because a lot of people start to think to themselves, well, I don't have a 4-channel MIDI to CV converter. I don't have a quad setup. I don't have 4 of everything. But I still like a quad, so I guess I could use a multiple and multiple my pitch CV and the 4 1 volt productive inputs, but we have that in software for you. So when you plug in a CV, each oscillator can pick up all the CVs. You can tell it. So even though you're programming VCO number 4, you can use the parameter input from VCO 1 if you want to. So you can actually steal parameters from other oscillators if you're not going to use it. You don't have to use 4. Just because there's 4 there, don't feel compelled to use all 4 all the time. Sometimes you just want 1 VCO, but you want to have multiple modulation routings. You can do that in software, and it's all saved as the preset. So you can set up both the audio mixing. So if you want to have one output be VCO1 and a little bit of VCO3, because you have VCO3 programmed as a what? A sub, right? Because everybody says, you don't have PWM and you don't have sub octaves. You suck. Well, now you can do that, at least the sub octave part, because you can now program any interval in there and mix it in software in the mixer as an output, a single output. And of course the advantage is it doesn't have to be a square wave. It can be another wavetable that's exactly an octave below in tracking and not just a square wave. Each VCO has 2 modulation CVs on the front panel with attenuators. So how many does the E352 have? It has 3 parameters. So that's probably the biggest difference. So you're probably thinking, well, how am I going to do like a E350? So because it has 3 things going at once. The answer is you have to make some consolation, and one of them is you can program a fixed value for a parameter from like 1 to 100%. So you don't even have to have a voltage going into it or even a knob. We have basically a software knob for you. So you can sneak that extra parameter in through the interface and still have it there. Okay, next. I thought it was 4. I'm going to keep going to this until it dies. So why isn't it 4 E352s? Well, it shares the same audio engine, and it runs a little faster. So it runs at 216 megahertz as opposed to 156 megahertz, but even that's not fast enough. It's still the fastest microcontroller running in any Eurorack Modular I know of. But it's still not fast enough to do 4, what we call an instance, 4 copies of the E352 exactly, because then you'd have to have 8 audio outputs, and then it would be longer, and then I'd just, people wouldn't buy anymore. So we had to give you something. So in Kickstarter, the way that you earn more money is you do stretch goals. So I was trying to think of stretch goals that had some kind of meaning, and one of the guys asked me, does it have through 0 FM? Well, in 2-op mode it does. That's the whole definition of 2-op mode, is it's a through 0 FM system. That's how you get the spectra. But they want through 0 FM. Now, a lot of people ask for through 0 FM, but they really don't know what it means. So who wants to stand up and tell me exactly what through 0 FM really means?
I could probably do
Okay, Nicholas Kent will stand up and tell us.
Okay, I'm really tough here. Okay, basically when you're FMing, your carrier with the modulator, the voltage of the carrier is changing the pitch of the modulator, and your problem is that as the amount of modulator rises, you're forcing the carrier to hit 0 hertz, and then it stops. It stops dead.
It can't
You
get there, right?
Asymmetrical.
Right. So in a regular VCO, okay, it never goes to 0 hertz. It goes to 0.1 hertz and 0.01 hertz and 0.00001 hertz.
It's a wall.
But it can't get there. Okay, it can't do anything. The more voltage, usually negative voltage, right? You put negative 100 volts in, and it still won't go to 0. Well, it will really quickly when it blows up. But what does through 0 FM do?
Through 0 FM, when it hits the 0, it does a 180 degree, it does a phase reverse and keeps on going.
And goes back up.
Yeah.
And goes back up.
So you get a nice symmetrical wave, not,
impacted at 0.
Yeah, every time you've got a higher modulating. Now, I mean, I guess with a modulator, if it's a low level, you can get away with that for a certain point, and then it stops working if you had a regular.
If you tune it in, right?
Yeah.
Right. So basically, what happens is.
Depth.
Right. So
a lot more depth.
So we have 3 different ranges of 30 FM, which is how far +5 to -5 voltage will swing in hertz. Now, how far will it go? So let's say, I think the smallest swing we have is like 100 hertz, plus or minus 100 hertz. But if you're pitching at 300 hertz, you can't get down there, so you have to pitch down lower, right, to swing below that. So we have narrow, medium, and full wide, 20 kilohertz swinging. Okay, so that's programmable. So that's one of the things we did as a stretch goal, and that's true for all the wavetables, not just sine waves. Officially, it's only defined for a sine wave, but we said we're going to do it with wavetables too, because it's just a pointer arithmetic in C. And so a quick question is, when does the 352 get through 0 FM? Next question. I'll tell you right now.
You have the SD card.
I'll put it in there after serial number 500 ships. I'm at number 34. And then the last thing I thought of, because I was running out of ideas, was I said, well, there's this cool module called the qubit chord that came out that lets you play little chords and stuff and transpose and things like that. I think I'll have chord mode too. So I put chord mode in. I didn't know what chord mode was going to do, and I put it in because I just, ran out of things to do. And it got funded for chord mode. So we have a chord mode, but it's not that chord mode. It's a different chord mode. In fact, we turned it into a sequencer. So not only do you have chord mode, it's a sequencer. And not only is it a sequencer, we had it where you can micro-tune it. So all you people out there that like micro-tuning stuff, all 3 of you. Well, it's Robert, Rich, this guy, and one more person. You can actually have micro-tuned chord tables as well. Next. How can I get it? Well, the Kickstarter people do the rules of Kickstarter. They get theirs first. Okay? So it's going to start shipping late October, early November. It's going to take me till the end of January, early February to ship all the Kickstarters. Once the Kickstarters ship, that's a finite number. I think the number is 269 or something like that, roughly. Then the dealers who have already placed orders, then it'll just roll over to the dealers. Okay? It was available on my website up until recently. It's off the website. So the answer is, if you haven't got one through Kickstarter and you didn't order one up until last week, you have to wait and get one through a dealer next year, early next year. Okay, that's probably going to be around mid-February. There's a lot of knobs and pots and washers and jacks on that thing. It takes me an average of about 40 minutes to do one. Plus they're burned in for 10 hours as well and stuff. So think of it as a fine, handcrafted module. Okay, next. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about Wave Edit. I was going to show Wave Edit now, but I think for time, if you want to see Wave Edit, I have 3 YouTube videos, Wave Edit. You can download the alpha version of Wave Edit off my website. It's Mac, PC, and Linux. It's going into full beta right after KnobCon. And it's free with source code. And if you make a VST of it, I'm coming for you. And so this is what the main screen looks like. And there's basically 2 parts to Wave Edit. The first part is you have a blank bank. So a bank is 64 waves. Remember, 8 by 8, like a checkerboard. 64 wave tables. And how do you start with wave tables? You can do everything from taking your little pencil and go, I'm going to draw me a violin. And when you draw that little thing and you play it back, it goes, nyeh. And you go, well, I'll make some more squiggles over here. And it goes, no. It's very difficult. That was just being sampled by Run DMC, and that's going to be in the next one. It's going to be difficult to physically draw, although some will try and some will be lucky. So instead, we have some tools down here for you, and we have a starting set of 64 different banks that you can just load in and play with, wavetables. And so we have effects. I know it's kind of hard to see, but we can do stuff like add comb filtering, wave folding. We can quantize down to 2 bits, where you can go from 16. We can bit crush, I guess that's the way to say it. We can bit crush. We can slew limit. We can high pass filter. We can low pass filter. We can do it over the whole bank, or we can do it over individual waves. You can take your mouse and you can drag and drop the order of the waves you want. And also, we have a repository online where you can upload banks and you can download banks other people did. Okay, so this is a way to do it. I'll call it from scratch. The other way to do it is you say, well, I want to load in my own wavetables. I want to record my own violin sound. Okay, well, you have to remember this is not a sampler. These are only 256 samples long. And there's no sample rate in a wavetable oscillator. Okay, it's the number of samples. There's no sample rate. There's no time in a sample rate. It's just you start here and you go up and down and you end there. And believe me, you want to end and start pretty much at the same point, or you're going to get a glitch, right? So how do you manage that? So we have another thing that we're going to have for beta, which is how to import your own waves of arbitrary length. Maybe not 20 minutes, but some long length. And then you'll be able to, like a video editor, you can be able to zoom in and trim and cut and stretch and exactly make either 256 samples or a bank, an entire bank, which is 16K samples. So we're going to hard code that in for you so that no matter what you trim and select and load in, okay, it's going to always fit. Right? And if you don't want it to fit, you can add some wave folding and it'll sound like it didn't fit. But this is going to be a real interesting tool. So for those of you who have kind of been keeping track, what you can tell yourself, if I record a 1-second sample at 16.38 kilohertz, what will happen? It exactly fits. And what happens if I sweep it with an LFO at 1 hertz? It plays it right back, doesn't it? Yes, it does. And so there's a lot of fun you can have with that feature. And we actually have something in our program that we can sweep. You have a software LFO in the editor that lets you do that function. So you can actually see what it would sound like if you fed a sawtooth wave and swept my bank at a certain frequency that matched my sample length and time. It should play it back at full 16 bits, 96 kilohertz resolution. But then what happens if you take that sample and cloud it and morphine cloud it? Sounds pretty cool. Okay, next. So these are some of the features. This is a free program. When I say free, it was paid for by the Kickstarter backers because it was the very first stretch goal from the Kickstarter backers. With full source code and cross-platform, generates wavetables from scratch. You can import the waves and chop them up. And then once you have your waves that you've imported, if you want to, you can go back to the effect editor that we had in the sandbox program with like the comb filters and the wave folding and apply those to your own imported waves as well, if you want to. And then if you really want to have fun, you hit the R key and it just randomizes everything in the whole computer. And so it generates 64 random wavetables, if you want to. Next. It's time to raffle off my Buchla. I never liked Buchlas. All right, that's only partially true. That actually was my Buchla. And no, it's not for the raffle. But before we have the raffle, I'm going to do two things. Any quick questions about anything? Anybody?
Are the,
Yes.
are the color schemes per preset?
Yes, they are.
Yes.
I'm glad I spent 10 months on the audio processing algorithms so that it comes down to that one guy who says, I want one preset with a black background and one preset with a yellow background. Yes?
Okay, a couple questions. One, tracking calibration. Is it the old school trimmer on both the 352 and the 370?
That's a good question. So if you have any of my old stuff, I use a mechanical trimmer, right, that uses a little screwdriver to trim volt per octaves. And that's true on the E352. However, that would be unwieldy on the E370, so it auto-calibrates for you and stores it into flash memory. Now the next question you're going to ask is, can it go different than 1 volt per octave? Can it go 1.2 volts per octave for the Buchla? Yes, it can. Can it go 0.92744 volts per octave for the Moog Voyager? Yes, it can. It can actually trim from about 0.75 volts per octave to 1.3 volts per octave. And the way you do it is you simply play 3 middle Cs and you're done. You go, here's my voltage that I'm going to call middle C, ping, ping, ping. That's it. You're done. So that's a lot better than going, and you could say, why is it that I'm the 352? Because I didn't think of it until after I designed it.
So
Yes.
you can intentionally detune it to something entirely weird.
So what would happen if you didn't hit C, C, C? What if you hit C, B flat, F sharp? You would try to tune it to that and detune it, and you could do micro-tuning, and there you go. Yes?
So then is the through zero on the 370, can you assign it to a mod input, or is that just internal?
It's on the FM input, yeah.
Okay,
It's on the
physical input.
It's a physical FM input, yeah.
Okay, got it. Cool, cool. And then the last question is more of just theoretical interest in wavetables. If you, since now it's a 16-bit instead of 8-bit, if you bit crush a 16-bit wavetable in the wave editor to 8-bit, would that be any different than, let's say, if that same wavetable was in the 350, which is, of course, only this 8-bit wavetable?
No, it would sound the same.
Just a quick question. I've been playing with the wavetable editor, and it's completely amazing. I mean, it could be the ultimate wavetable editor. So I just have a question. Is there any remote possibility of export in other formats coming up for this software?
What we're going to do is we're going to well, people have asked two questions, and that's one of them. Can you export to Waldorf format, and can you import from Serum? Okay?
I was asking that.
It's dead mouse. Folks, dead mouse right here. Sorry, Joel, I know you're a customer. I'm just kidding. He can be touchy. But the thing is that we're going to release it because if we keep creeping stuff like that, it'll never get done. So we're hoping that there's a community. There's already going to be a community with the uploaded. And I want you guys to take this code and run with it. And please just remember who paid for it and where the code came from. Everybody play nice, okay, and we'll all benefit.
Is it on GitHub?
Pardon me?
Is it on GitHub?
No, it's going to be just a download. It's not that big, okay? It compresses, the thing about C code, it compresses really well. And so, I mean, the whole archive is maybe, 40 meg or something. Yes?
I was going to say the actual data is really simple. So it's trivial to actually.
That's Microsoft.web. Now, there's some people out there who will look at my program and go, that sucks. I could do better. And so nothing's going to stop you. We're going to publish, we already have on certain forums, but we've already published, it's Microsoft.wave with a certain link, then a certain header, and it's not very hard, and you can write a Perl script or a Python script to do it if you wanted to. And I'm sure someone out there right now is already writing a Python script to take certain files and write wavetable files and stick it into the thing. So it's not that difficult to do. It's just that we have to decide when we're going to stop working, and then we've already decided to stop at this point. Anything else? Who wants to hear a demo? Well, there's not going to be a demo. There's going to be a raffle. No, we'll have a demo, and then we'll have a raffle.
Can I go to the bathroom?
Okay. How about we take a 2-minute break?
I've got like 3 beers.
I forgot about the beer.
So bad.
There's a bathroom back here. And there's one in the shop if you want to go out to the back. There's another bathroom. But you must be present to win.
Well, right now that's actually
Line form sync.
Excuse me, Paul. We're gonna get to this under here. Wonderful.
Sean, you came. I'm so happy.
Why would I not be here?
Because it's not Friday.
Especially because it was also, as he was saying, same that are.
currently sell for $45,000 a piece now. But I got it for $4,000 because someone spilled a Coke and it didn't work. So I got it, it was totally dead.
Yeah.
This is about 2004.
Is it in the US? Or?
It was in Australia.
Oh.
At Queensland College of Music in Australia.
Okay.
And so I got it and it was like totally dead. I mean, it's like boards were etched away. But Don Buchla had signed every module in pencil, which I thought was cool. So I took pictures of it. That's my sofa. Took pictures of it. Said, look what I got.
Yeah.
Of course, everybody goes crazy. So a famous trader in Tennessee called me up and says, I want the Buchla. What do you want for it? Well, I'm not a Buchla fan. I said, I want a Moog 55, dual keyboards, ribbon controller, dual sequencer cabinet. He goes, done. So we got together, brought it to my house, I gave it in, and drove up. He spent around $48,000 to repair it, so every module worked. We sold it to a trader in Japan for $97,000. I spent $17,000 restoring the Moog. I sold it for $39,000. I kind of wish I still had it.
Yeah.
But I had just adopted a child, and the adoption fee was $38,000. So I used the money from selling the Moog to pay for my adoption.
Yeah. Wow.
But, you want to know the truth?
Yeah.
My stuff sounds better.
I'm sure.
It does.
I'm sure.
Listening to the Moog Modular is like listening to a 1972 Technics stereo.
Yeah.
It's like, really? It's just not, it's more, I call it, there's wishing you could date the cheerleader and the actual date with the cheerleader. The Moog Modular is thinking about the date for the cheerleader.
Yeah.
But when you actually have it, you're like, okay. You know, Moog only made 11 modules. That's it. He didn't even make an LFO. There's no LFO. He needs a ticket. Gotta take it. He needs a ticket. Yep.
The room got silent.
Well, the room got real quiet. Has everybody finished going to the restroom?
Yes.
All right.
I'll get on your list.
They don't count. Hurry up.
All right, so I'm showing the 370, and I was trying to set it up so that each voice is doing something different. So the first voice is set up in cloud mode with morphing. The second voice is a 2-operator FM mode with sine waves. The third is an XY morph bank, and the fourth voice is noise. So showing the range.
Did you get a ticket to the raffle? Well, that's it. Thanks for coming. Oh. Sana. My lovely assistant, Sana, ladies and gentlemen. Pick one. In Dutch, please. No, just kidding. She speaks 4 languages. Okay. Read the number out loud.
036683.
8 what?
3.
Anybody?
Wait, say it again.
Say it again.
036683.
Raise your hand. You got it?
Hey.
Come up. Come up. It's like the Game of Thrones walk of shame. Pick a hand. No, pick a hand. Tell them what you got. Read it out loud. Turn around.
Synthesis technology E330 multi-mode VCO. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hey!